Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to a Bloop and a Blast baseball podcast. My name's Big Sexy. I'm the Bloop, and his name is Luke Hughes. He is the Blast. Hughesy, mate, what is going on? How you been?
I'm good, mate. Good weekend. Busy weekend. Late night again tonight. Love these late night podcasts.
Yeah, late night Hughesy's the best.
Yeah, just running on empty. But hey, you know what? You got to do what you got to do sometimes.
Hey, well, you're right, and we appreciate you, mate. And obviously, we do have a very special guest coming up afterwards. It's the forgotten episode or the lost episode. Shouldn't be forgotten because we're going back to him. It's the lost episode of last week. Brooke Knight. We had some technical issues. Usually things are my fault in this endeavor, but this time we're blaming you, Hughesy, so I'm okay with it. Let's roll with that. That's awesome.
100% my fault. I apologise. I had all types of tech issues going on last week. I had my phone strapped to the computer, taped across the screen. That clearly did not work.
No, man, it was good. I was loving that. That was a little home job setup. It was sick.
Shocking.
That was awesome.
Mate, we worked it out. And we get better.
And I tell you what, it was good. It was fun. Last episode was really good. We shot from the hip a little bit, which I I do a lot more than you, but I think we had a good time, and from all accounts, a lot of feedback. Everyone enjoyed it, so it was a lot of fun. But yeah, of course, we are having a chat with Brooke Knight very shortly after this. But we have to get into obviously what was the round that was round 2. And before we dive into it too much, we did have our series picks. Do you want to start there? We'll talk about who did what and what happened.
Yep.
I think we were just recently just talking about it off air. But obviously, we'll start with the Adelaide Giants and the Canberra Cavalry. In the end there, Hughesy was correct. Hughesy said 3-1 to Adelaide, and that's how the series ended up.
One point
for Hughesy. We won't count round 1 because it wasn't an official tournament. Okay, how about that? So that's a point for Hughesy. We were both right as far as the Melbourne Aces. 3-1 in the series over the Brisbane Bandits.
Well, they went 1-2-1. Obviously, they had one game rained out, which they'll make up. But hey, we'll still claim it. I still think that's a point.
We'll go 0 points then. No points.
Okay.
Well, that's a point for Hughesy.
Do we roll it over until they make up that game later on in the year?
We're not going to remember that.
Okay. We'll try.
0 points awarded. 0 points awarded. I'm going for that. It is what it is. And of course, your boy here, he was right. 2-2 split. Perth Heat. Oh, well, no one really won, but Perth Heat versus the Sydney Blue Sox. It was a pretty awesome sort of a series. I actually thought. But anyways, obviously I was watching a few more of those games. But where do you want to start, mate? Do you want to go back to that Melbourne and Canberra series, and we can have a quick look through what happened sorry, Adelaide and Canberra. My apologies. Go through that sort of game 1, 2-1 to the Canberra Cavalry. Actually, Canberra picked it up early, and that was a pretty close one, obviously given the score. But I caught a little bit of that late. That was quite exciting.
It was pitcher's duel. It seemed like that series was based around the starting pitching, which I feel is key to success for all ABL teams. But Mahoney went out there and threw 5 innings, gave up 1 hit again. So he started off his ABL campaign extremely well. And with Adelaide, they rolled out there with Lockie Wells, who threw 6 innings, gave up 5 hits and 1 earned run. So, look, 2 great starts, which is what you're looking for on a Friday night, entering into the weekend for that starting rotation. The starters there to really give a good opportunity for the team to score some runs. It was a pretty, obviously, low-scoring game with Canberra getting up 2-1 and scoring a run in the 7th inning there. So, yeah, not a lot of hits in that game. It was a pretty quick game there, but, good way to kick it off for both teams.
Of course. And we move into game 2 of that series, which was the sort of, it was the doubleheader, the first of those, which is interesting. I learned a little bit about those rules as well and I think we all did as the weekend sort of went on, with the doubleheader there playing the 7 innings game. Of course, if it goes to extras, there's something like if it goes to extras, then the first game is 7 innings. But if it goes to extras, the next game is
7 innings.
7 innings. But if it doesn't, the second game's 9.
Yep. Well done.
Makes sense.
No, it does.
I think I was remembering it as I was trying to explain
No,
it to you.
you
But
got it
yes,
correct. No, you got
thank
it
you.
correct. It happened a couple of times when I was playing, and playing extra innings. They do like to sandwich that second game into a 7 inning game. So Adelaide came out in that game. Rickson Wingrove obviously came up with a big home run there to walk them off. But two great pitching performances for both teams again in that game
Yeah.
one. So you had Takada, 5 innings, 5 hits, no earned runs, 5 punchies, and then with Adelaide, you rolled out there Yamamada, through 4 innings, and then I think the pick there was piggybacking with Bradwell, who threw 3 2/3 and didn't give up a hit or a run. So, gave his team the opportunity to come back, and essentially, Rickson came up as he does and clutch and hit that walk-off home run.
Of course, if you haven't seen it already, we did a little Big Sexy breakdown on the socials at Bloop Blast Podcast. Check it out; it was a bit of fun. I didn't realize until I got told after the game. I'm not going to release my sources, but someone pretty close to the situation told me that Rickson Wingrove broke his bat on that home run, which was
Really?
like, oh, sick.
Right.
The big dude goes down and gets it. After obviously the little mishap at third base, and look, I covered it pretty well in the breakdown, which was quite really funny to me. I started watching that and I thought, oh my god, I've got to do this. But yeah, that was So Rickson Wingrove comes up huge there for the Giants. Which look, it's always going to be hard to go into Adelaide when they're in there trying to defend that beach. We know this, and look, it paid off for them there in game 2 of the series. We move on to game 3. 11-4. Giants come out rolling. They just needed that win,
I think that's that game. The game 2 of the doubleheader is always tough for me. Playing a double dip, it's a long, long, long day. A lot of at bats, and hopefully you're getting a few knocks in that first game and can roll into the second game. But the big talking point here is the bats for Adelaide exploded, and they got 13 hits there. So
Yeah.
they got on base. They walked 9 times as well. So anytime you got that many base runners, good things are going to happen. So it was good to see that the bats kind of waking up there for Adelaide. I did call it last week, and they are a very offensive team. And that was really the difference in the game. You did get a great start for, here we go with this one, Koyomoto. Through 5 innings, only gave up 2 hits. So, that was the difference there. A good quality start there for Adelaide. And, they clearly swung the bats really well.
And there was another game, but I can't remember the score. Did you catch it?
I've got it right here. I've got my
24th?
second laptop up.
Man.
So LA came out on the Sunday and won 7-4.
Right.
So they had a good series, Adelaide. I think, what we thought about with the bats, that was definitely something I was looking forward to seeing the boys swing the bats. I think in this game is where McArdle had a great game. He went 3 for 4 and, home run, drove in 3. So he was probably the difference there. Liam Spence picked up a couple of knocks too. So, it's always turns to be that Sunday game seems a bit more of a bullpen game. Everyone's a little bit shorter with their innings, and generally you see a lot more arms throughout that game. So, they definitely swung the bats well.
Absolutely. And look, let's keep it going with the Perth Heat, Sydney Blue Sox there as far as this round opener for them. Perth Heat gets up 2-1 in that game. Catch much of that one, mate?
I did. Tucker Smith threw the ball really well. Both of them did, to be honest with you. Same with Barassa. He threw the ball really well, only gave up a run. So I think, looking at that, it was, pitchers due another game Friday night. Probably 2 of the best arms each club has. It's not going to be a high-scoring game. So the boys went out there and battled and picked up 2 runs in the 6th inning. The Heat boys did, and that was the difference in the game. So, it was when you've got a guy like Tyler Beardsley who's going to come in the back end of a game for the Heat to close it out, it's always going to be tough to score runs off him. 94 power sinkers, it is quite difficult to come out and face him on a Friday when they're probably a little bit tired from sitting on a plane for a few hours too. So Tucker, 6 innings, 4 hits, 1 earned run, and for me, it was great to see big time Dubs come out and throw 1 2/3. Didn't give up a hit, didn't give up a run,
Filthy.
and he's kind of rolled from that Australian team duties, that quality outings that he had over there into the ABL season. So he's looking really sharp and really good to see, and I'm really happy for him.
Man, he was looking nasty, absolutely nasty in in those little that little inning there. So I thought, yeah, well, 2 innings, I guess, 1.2 innings, but
Yeah.
yeah, it was no, I was pumped to see that too, and I went to this game, the second game of this doubleheader here, but I was giving Sorps a big wave as I saw him in the bullpen, and no wave back, but that's
Did he?
okay, that's okay.
He's still blowing you off, hey?
I sent him a Snapchat and I said, "Hey man, just finally accept my Instagram follow," and he did. So, anyways, that's good. We're moving on, but let's move on to game 2 of the series. It is Perth Heat versus Sydney Blue Sox, and the Blue Sox got up in this one, 6-2.
They did. Ferreira had another quality start, 5 in the third, and gave up 5 hits, only 2 earned runs there, punched out 6. So, he was obviously the difference in the game there. Jane Ray picked up a couple of knocks. Merg picked up a couple of knocks. They were probably the 2 goals that really shone for the Sydney Blue Sox. Alex Orr finally decided to show up and do something. Nah, I'm just joking. Hit his first home run of the year too. So I did have a little pep talk with him while he was on the way down to the field Saturday morning, and while I was driving down to Geelong.
Oh, so you're claiming it, eh? You're saying
Yeah,
that his
100%.
incredible Saturday was awful. Yeah, okay, yeah, no
Yeah,
worries. Yeah,
100%.
cheers. Yeah.
Of course. But, Juan had another great start there. For innings, only gave up, 1 earned run and punched out 3. So, he gave a good quality start there, but unfortunately the Heat let that one drop. And then, obviously, we go into game 2 of the doubleheader, which you were there, mate. How was it?
I was sick. I obviously went there to continue my campaign to become one of the Wells brothers, as Alex was on the mound that game. It was sick. I've got some big sexy takes. I'll get into it later, but actually I'll drop this one now because watching him pitch. I mean, as the game goes on, I think we saw. It was a close game. It was quite a good game. That Sydney come back late to score those sorts of runs. And we're thinking, I was sitting up there with Lockie Dale, and we're thinking to ourselves, oh, here we go. Like, these guys are going to get on it here late in this game, and we're going to be in trouble. But I tell you what, man, the cool thing for me was watching Wells pitch, right? So TK gave him trouble early on as far as like TK gets on doing TK things in that game. I think TK was responsible for the first run across the plate. It was potentially off like a pass ball or something weird, I think, in early in the game. And TK comes up in his second at bat, gets a base hit, right? I've got it in my notes because I thought Hugh's going to love this, right? He effectively gets a guy gets on through an error, right? To ground ball second base, second baseman clanks it, guy before TK, right? He gets on, got TK at the plate, falls behind 3-0 to TK, picks the guy off, which was Byron Armstrong at first base, gets him, right? Comes back, strikes out TK, 3-0, and strikes out the next guy. And I just went, wow, like the good ones just find a way. Like
Yeah.
it was, and he did. Admittedly, like if you go back and watch the first bit of that game, he sort of worked in and around trouble like pretty well throughout the whole game. And man, I was just like, hey, how do I become one of these Wells brothers? Let's go. Like, how do I do it? How do I get in there? But no, it was awesome to watch, and it was a great atmosphere at the ballpark, obviously.
Yeah, the obviously with the Perth Heat getting up there 3-2 in that game, Hawley hit another homer, another home run. She had a good start there, 5 innings, and with Sydney, Alex Wells, 4 innings, only gave up 4 hits, but 2 unearned runs there. So look, for the Heat, kind of rolling along there, feeling pretty good. Clayton Campbell came out and got 3 knocks that game and swung the bat really well by the looks of things there too. So it was kind of going into Sunday for them, for the Heat, being up 2-1 in the series. You really want to, I guess, solidify the weekend and win on Sunday. But Sydney turned up and ready to roll and did a number.
I have one more question to ask you. Obviously, yeah, Sydney did show up on the Sunday. We can cover it in this next one, but that's fine. But yeah, where was that? I'm trying to find it now. 12-6
12-6
on the Sunday. Jesus.
But
hey, we knew that.
The top 4 hitters had 2, 4, 6, 9 hits combined, which was clearly the difference within the game. And they got 16 hits for the day, which is huge for them. And when you kind of roll on a Sunday and you've got Guy, Ray, Colin Wynn to kind of mop up those last few innings on a Sunday, it's obviously pretty good. Perth Heat, unfortunately, didn't throw the ball that well in that game. So that was probably the difference within that. They did scrap along again, and Bowie opened his account with a home run.
Holy Jesus, he absolutely murdered that ball.
Is he trying to hit like Otani a little bit with his hands out?
I noticed that when he was in. I noticed that from the Bowman when he was in Japan.
Yeah.
That little thing. But hey, he's got
with
something
his hands
working
out like this.
I noticed that actually. Yeah, I like it. I like it.
So that was a split series there, and we'll talk to Brooke about it in more in depth later on in the podcast. But I'm interested to get his take on the weekend and essentially what he thought about the series split, but that does put Sydney on top of the ABL ladder, a game clear early in the season still, but to be able to go out there for Sydney to split that series and get that win on Sunday is big. You never want to lose a series. You're okay with a push, with a split, but yeah, big win for Sydney on Sunday.
Also, can you try and pronounce the shortstop for the Sydney Blue Sox for me?
Okay, let me just pull it up. Where are we at? Shortstop.
Yeah.
Okay.
While you're pulling that up, I've got to mention. Yeah.
Yeah, I got it. Shinya Matasushi.
Ooh, that's not too bad. He's wearing the number 134.
I heard that.
Did you notice that?
I did. I heard that in the podcast.
The boys on the Morgs on the commentary, he was asking some questions about it, and I was right there with him. I'm saying that, and I'm going, what is going on? But hey, like, maybe he's the first guy. I don't know. Morgs is going to work it out.
Normally those numbers are kept for all the, I guess, bullpen pitchers, the BP pitchers over there in Japan. Most of the time, they're the ones wearing the big numbers.
Right.
But first for many. I'm not a fan of zero. By the way, if we're talking about
I knew
numbers.
you wouldn't be. I just some things I go, yeah, look, Hughesy wouldn't. Don't even ask him.
No, it's
double zero.
Double zero. No, 42. Hate it. I know we're not in the States, but I still show respect for that number and the history behind that. And yeah, they're probably the numbers.
How do you feel about like 99 and like the bigger numbers in general? Not a big fan. Like 99's kind of got its own thing going on. Like,
it does, and obviously Aaron Judge has made that quite popular.
No, I was talking about Manny when he went from Boston to the Dodgers, but that's okay.
Do you reckon Aaron Judge is doing it in memory of Manny?
Yeah, he would be. Big Manny fan, yeah, for sure. Yeah, second best right-handed hitter in the game, Aaron Judge, behind Manny Ramirez.
It's always funny rolling into your first big league spring training and you go to your locker and you're like, oh, God, I hope this number's not too high.
You'd rather be in like 99, like in the 90s or something, have a bit of riz on the number than like 67 or like 54 or something. I reckon that'd be trash. But
I remember going across to I was still in the minor leagues with the Twins and got asked to go across to, playing the big league game or hopefully playing the big league game. And you go into the locker room and it's like 6 of us guys from, the minor league side roll over there. And it's literally like mid 80s to 100, like to 99. Like, so which one are you going to get? Like, you might get 83 or 94 or something like that. And then when those late changes come in a big league game and all of a sudden you're seeing all these high numbers out there, that's when the fans start walking up the stairs and leaving. They're like, I'm out. I don't want to watch these guys.
Beat the traffic home. Yeah, you're right. Yeah. It's about from 70 to low 90s on. If you got 95, I reckon you'd be cheering, and 95 up to 99, but that's it. Anywhere between like 69 to 95, you're in trouble, I reckon.
Big trouble.
Let's move on. I've got a bone to pick with Brooke Knight too regarding a bit of theft that occurred in Perth. Not necessarily Brooke, but a guy, Alberto Rios, hit a ball off a flag, which was I don't know if you've seen that. I haven't seen
the highlight. I did see the highlight. Pretty crazy.
Can confirm that someone from the Sydney Blue Sox organisation stole it and took it back.
You got some insight. You got some insiders.
I got some little scoops here and there, but look, we've got to move on because obviously we're going to finish up with what else happened. So the first game gets rained out between the Melbourne Aces and the Brisbane Bandits. Obviously up in Brisbane, any chance of rain, you just never know. Never know in Brizzy. But on the Saturday, first game comes out, Melbourne Aces 3-1 over the Brisbane Bandits.
So Sean Morimondo dominated again, 5 in third, 6 hits, 5 punch outs, set the tone there. Ono came in, and then Rutledge. I might be able to pronounce that one by the end of the season.
That's a tough one. I don't think I could get that either.
Evan.
Ruckage.
Evan.
Rucky.
Through 2 innings. And the big thing for me within this series is adding the big boys back into that lineup. Daryl George, Aaron Whitefield, start from the top. Aaron Whitefield, Daryl George, Robbie Glendenning, 1, 2, 3 hitters. All right, then you roll into Greg Bird, Disler, Jared Dale back as well. They got 11 hits throughout that game, and it's a pretty strong Australian lineup when you add Jared Belbin in there and Mitch Edwards as well. So it's pretty cool to see that amount of Australian talent on the one roster, playing
and the imports ain't terrible either. Just FYI,
And we'll get to Disler.
I'm a big fan of this guy, but anyways, we'll move forward.
Huge fan. That was probably that game done and dusted there. 3-1, pretty tight there, and you never know playing up there in Brisbane. A couple of walk here and a home run there, the game's complete change. And with that short porch in right field, a 2-run ball game is very gettable. You always want to be up by a few more, especially going into the 9th inning there. So, Melbourne's kicked off that, in a pretty good way, and rolling into obviously the double dip. No, that was a double dip.
It was game 1 of the double dip. Yeah. So the second game, 8-3 to the Melbourne Aces, and this is where I found my new favourite player. I'm just going to go ahead and bring him up right now because I can't hold it back anymore. Arturo Disler. I'm calling him Arturo Rizler. He has the Riz. This guy is awesome. He absolutely takes murderous hacks and he hits 2 dingers. And he got struck out, but the strikeout was also really fun to watch. I love this guy. I like everything about him. He's a big unit. He rocks the high socks. He doesn't get cheated on a swing. He looks like an absolute blast to hang out with. Big fan. My new favourite guy. Yep, love it. So, do you want to go into an actual breakdown rather than me fanboying over Rizler?
No, great rundown there. No, that was good. I guess Melbourne getting up 8-3. They got 11 hits to 7. Robbie Glendenning had a great weekend over the course of the 3 games, swinging the bat well in all of the games. Picked up another 2 knocks there. Jared Dale picked up 2 knocks. The pitching staff held a pretty good lineup down there with and the Brisbane Bandits, it was probably the one thing that we've got to see their bats liven up a little bit. And it's probably something that I know was coming. And obviously in Sunday it did. They swung the bats pretty well, came back in a game and won on Sunday.
Yeah. So as we move into that Sunday game, 7-6 to the Brisbane Bandits. Look,
a lot of hits. A lot of hits.
Jesus,
29 hits combined for the game.
That's huge. That's a monstrous event. Obviously, my mate Rizler hit another home run, but I've just got to pump him up, of course. But anyways, yeah. What else did you?
The guy that I really saw, I guess, with the pitching, Connor McDonald had a bit of a tough outing after a really good outing last week, giving up 11 hits through that game. But Cooper Vasilakis was the guy that locked it down, 4 innings, 3 hits, right? So he gave his team the opportunity to come back in that game and essentially, win that game. He was able to hold a pretty potent offensive team with the Aces scoreless. So it was good to see him out there. He had a really good slider breaking ball working throughout that. I was sitting on the couch nursing a bit of a sore head on Sunday.
Yeah,
and
so I heard rumors.
I had that game up and I was watching that pretty closely. Robbie came out, got 3 hits again in that game. Disler did hit a bomb in that. And when the camera turned back around, I reckon he was about 3 steps out of the box and the ball had probably landed. So he definitely enjoyed that one. And then talking to Robbie a little bit after the game, he did say he's a ripping fella, a lot of fun, and keeps the clubhouse pretty chill. So no, it's kind of what I kind of expected with the Aces going up there to Brisbane. I think Brisbane have got a few things just to work through at the
Hey,
moment.
the guy I told you to watch too for Brisbane, Will Riley, at the bottom of that lineup, hitting 9 there. Hey, 3 hits, 3 from 4 on that Sunday game. Just saying, that's all right. It's always good when you get a few hits and you win. You know what I mean? You can't be too pumped about getting some hits and you go down in a tight one.
Special shout out to Alex Skepton getting his first knock on Sunday. I know he's probably excited. I'm sure the boys had a bit of a cheer in the dugout for him. He had a great season last year and had a little bit of a tough start, but it was good to see him go out there and get his first knock for the year too.
That's awesome. Look, let's look ahead to round 3 here. We'll give it a quick wrap here. We've got Canberra at home for the Bandits. Do we want to start doing picks right now while we're here, like while we're having a look at it?
Yep.
Yeah, cool. Canberra at home for the Bandits. Who you got? Who you thinking?
Canberra 3-1.
Canberra 3-1. Okay. I'm going to go 2-2. It's a ballerina 2-2. Split that one. Are you writing this down? I can't see you. I'm on the wrong page.
Yep.
Come on, man. Get your pen out, bro.
Yep.
Let's go. Luke,
Let's see.
3-1.
3-1.
Sexy 2-2. Adelaide Giants at home against the Perth Heat.
Ooh, what a big series.
It's going to be hard, eh? Like it just, yeah. I should go first, shouldn't I?
Yeah, you can go first.
I'm actually I'm going to be wrong here again, but I'm going to say 3-1 to the Giants. I know I've been betting against the Perth Heat a lot. It's pretty bad.
3-1.
Yeah, 3-1 Giants. At home, man, it's hard. I think it's almost too hard. But anyways.
If the wind is doing what it was doing.
Yeah, it wasn't blowing out. It was the first game.
Blowing out.
No, the first game it was they were mentioned that it was I watched the game and they were saying that it wasn't doing its thing that it usually does.
Did you see Robbie Perkins? Congratulations, Robbie Perkins, on his 350th game too, mate. He had an absolute bomb.
Yeah, missile.
Bomb. And I was like, well, I do have to think that win was slightly aiding. And
Perko's got power, mate.
When Eric was on the comms and he was talking about how far that ball went, and when it landed on that shed, I know how far that shed is from that fence, and it's a very long way. So big home run there. Okay, this is I don't know if there's a little bit of gut feel here, or just I want a series split. I'm going series split.
You want a series split? Do you think this is a series that TK gets the boys fired up on the way down there and he says, boys, this is it. This is your moment in the year. Is it that kind of vibe for you where you could see the Perth Heat come out and go absolutely ham?
Well, you know what? I probably should change my pick. And the reason is this. Now, I have seen on the video the Aqaba Hotel is sponsoring the Adelaide Giants, right? Now,
what are we talking about here?
This brings back a lot of good memories for the Perth Heat. We did celebrate a championship there at the Aqaba. It's one of the best establishments that we get to stay at. And it was in Adelaide. We've had many a night there. It's a good setup, little pub there, little tab. We've got some pokies there. So a bit of entertainment for the lads after the game. Shout out to the Aqaba.
Gamble responsibly.
So I definitely think that the boys might be fired up there, enjoying a bit of team bonding, which I think that is what they need, a bit of team bonding and
first
come close together. First road trip, you get close, hang out with the boys, spend some time there.
Plus, it's the first time they've been back in Adelaide since they lost.
Yeah.
Don't want to bring it up, but a bit of fire.
I'll stay 2-2. I'll stay
2-2.
Yeah.
I'm still going. It's hard to bet against the Giants at home, but it's going to be one to watch. Let's move on. Sydney Blue Sox on top of the ladder. They're going to host the Melbourne Aces in Sydney. What are you thinking?
Such a big ballpark in Sydney, and I think as long as Melbourne understands that and plays a little bit more small ball, not so much because the team is kind of built around a lot of pop. So, as long as they know that, like, let's, get on base, let's, do the team thing. I think such a hard one because Sydney are playing so good at the moment.
Sydney got
very,
hot.
Very, very impressed with what they've done, their imports, and especially their starting pitching. Got 3 quality starters there. So I'm going to go 3-1 Melbourne Aces.
3-1 Melbourne Aces. I actually have no idea. I'm going to go 2-2 split.
Okay.
There you go. for that one. And
Yeah.
did you write down? Yeah, I gave you one for the Perth Heat Adelaide Giants. There you
Yeah.
go. It's getting pretty interesting.
Yeah.
And look, early in the weekend, Canberra gets that game up against blank. Who'd they play? Giants. Far out.
Yep.
Canberra gets that, and I'm thinking to myself, here we go. We're on here. Like, that's what this needs. And it's you're getting that with Sydney. You're seeing that competitiveness come through. And it's kind of given us pretty early on ideas of, anything can sort of happen here. I think it's going to be a pretty fun few weeks till we start to see it sort of level out and we start to get a really good understanding of who's hot. But you just never know. So there you go. That's round 3. It's coming up. Is there anything else that you wanted to?
Just one thing, real quick.
me.
Just the standings. All right. So we've got Sydney Blue Sox on top, 5-3. Melbourne Aces 4-3. The Giants 4-4. Big weekend for them to get back. Perth Heat 4-4. Bandits 3-4, and Canberra 3-5. Okay, so that's where we currently sit.
So you've played for 2 of those teams, unless you've played for others that I can't remember. What do you think you're saying? I mean, we've got a bit of an idea of what's going on in Perth Heat, right? Like there's going to be they're traveling with your own. If you're sitting in that third spot, you're 4-4. You're not overly concerned, but you're not overly happy either. You know, there's got to be work to be done. What are you saying if you're in a spot with Melbourne? Like, this is a pretty huge opportunity here to just jump right up over Sydney Blue Sox, or just really get into the deep water with them and find out where exactly you're standing at this point, isn't it?
It is, and I think we've discussed the Aces quite a lot, where we knew once the boys came back that they would, it's just a strong offensive lineup, right? It's just really quite strong.
It's pretty strong.
And you're adding in the 2-hole hitter, the 3-hole hitter, and the 5-hole hitter, or 6-hole with Darryl into a lineup, and you had Jared Dale as well. So, like, it was always going to happen. The offense is there. I think their arms are pretty decent as well. But, like a series sweep at this time of the year really separates you from the rest, right? So, always feel like if you could go and sweep a team and all of a sudden you just jump the gun and you're so much further ahead and you can just kind of like drop a game here or there and it's okay, right? So always, the goal was always a series win. Go there, play 3-1, happy days, right? That was always the goal. But if you could sneak a series sweep somewhere, it always just throws you ahead too. So it's so tight, right? Like Canberra sitting at the bottom 3-5 and Sydney at the top 5-3. So we're only talking 2 games.
Yeah, it's very early on. It is very early on. And I mean, look, obviously there's chats to be had across the whole league with Bandits as well. I think once they can heat up, I mean, obviously they got Lutzy and a few of those guys. I think Brisbane Bandits going to be that sort of team that sort of craft out a bunch of runs and sort of beat you in different ways rather than the big long ball. I'm happy to be wrong too. But Canberra, as we've seen throughout these first 2 rounds, are guys that can go out and hit a bunch of long balls as well. They've just got to get the sticks working.
So, I forgot to mention Jason Matthews, who it's great to see him playing in the ABL. He's had a pretty unbelievable last few years playing indie ball. I think I heard on the commentary that he won the MVP for the international players. They did like an international players MVP. Yep. He won that. He got picked up and signed, and he's in professional baseball, and it's like really cool thing to see. I remember seeing him up at the academy as a young fella, as a player when I was there as a coach many years ago, when a couple of Kiwi boys came over and were a part of that. And so it's really cool to see him develop. And now, like he rolls out there, he looks very, very confident within himself and his ability, and it's fun to see. So, exciting to see all these teams. I think it's the closest I've seen the Australian Baseball League for years within talent, within the squads. I think it's going to be the closest one ever, and I think that whoever fights for that 4th spot in the playoffs, it's going to be extremely tight all the way through the rest of the year.
That's it. And look, as we're going to have a little break here before we get Brooke Knight, our special guest, in for this episode. But obviously, hey, check it out. Round 3, it's right here. It's coming up. Here we go. And we're back. And we've got a pretty special guest here. And before you introduce him, Hughesy, I'm just going to throw out a stat about this guy. He is the only guest that we've had on the podcast 2 times. One time no one saw, but this time they're going to see it, I promise. It's Hughesy, do you want to tell us who it is? Do you want to tell everyone who it is?
Yeah, we welcome back Brooke Knight for take two. We had a great chat last Monday night. Unfortunately, we had a few tech issues there, and Brooke's been fantastic with his time. And welcome back, mate, and really happy to have you on tonight.
Yeah, let's do it again. Take two.
Mate, great weekend for Sydney. Great weekend for you boys. 3-1 over the weekend. How did it play out for you?
Well, this weekend we actually split, right, with Perth. First weekend 3-1.
Sorry.
But
Sorry.
Do your homework, mate.
Great start.
That's all right.
That's where I got my point from in the tips. Come on.
We can start over.
No. Keep it in.
Obviously, they got their boys back, right? So we knew we were going to be facing a formidable team, and everybody's kind of back in the mix. Had a couple of really tight games. I mean, all the games were good. Definitely worth watching, and with TK and Bowser and Bojo, and obviously, we got Holly pretty hot last couple of games. So Adelaide's got their work cut out for him, and TK started swinging well late. So it was a blast. It was really fun, and got to see a ton of people in Perth that I really I love and missed, and whether it's the scores or the fans or it was great. It was really a great weekend overall.
Have you had the time to catch up with Kevy and Jeff Hooker while you've been there?
I saw Jeff briefly. He came in after we got throat punched on the first night, so it was just a quick little hello in the club rooms. That was probably not the best time to celebrate reconnecting, but no, it was great to see him. I hadn't seen Kev. Kev's been over in Asia again for most of all of November, but I'm sure I'll catch up with him here pretty soon.
Two guys. Sorry, go ahead, mate.
I was just going to say I poked my head down the tunnel there on Saturday night after the second game, the 3-2 to the Heat, and I was of a similar vein. I thought to myself, well, he probably doesn't want to have some lout that he was trying to talk to on a podcast. Say hello to him, but you were already gone. I was like, I'm not going to push it any further than that. I definitely tried to poke my head in and say hello and thank you, but
no, I don't mind. I wish you would have. I don't mind. I mean, it's part of the deal, right? Like, we're probably not going to be celebrating pom-poms and tambourines, but you get through it knowing you got another game to play the next day.
That's it.
How have you seen it so far, mate? Week 2, sitting on top of the ladder, in a great spot, right? Like, the boys are playing some pretty good baseball. We've got some really good starting pitchers there, and some guys that can thump, mate. So where do you see the team at the moment?
Well, I mean, it was nice to see the bats get going on Sunday, Hughesy. Like, I know it's in there, and we know it's in there, and we had some guys really scuffle in the first couple of games. We pitched well, as you mentioned. Landon's been really reliable in his 2 starts, and Benny Ferrer. Wellesley's Wellesley. He did get better in the second start from the first start. He's obviously a professional, and you can just see every bit of that. And gets himself out of jams if it's not, going well early in the inning or early in the count, and you just know he's going to compete. And then young Yoshikawa, who had a kind of a rough outing the first week, was really good and reliable, and threw a ton of strikes on Sunday. And we obviously got things going at the plate. You know how it goes. It's contagious. A few guys scuffle and everybody's scuffling. A few guys get it going and everybody jumps on board. So it's kind of what it felt like in that third inning on Sunday. And then we just kind of had to hang on because the ball flies in day games. And I was just trying to remind our guys, I've seen it happen, boys. I don't give a rat's ass if it's 9-1 in the third inning. That means treat it like it's a 3-run game in the 7th, because that's basically what it is right now. And we got shut down in the middle of that ball game, and they did a good job. And then we were able to hang on and put a couple up late.
You say get the bats going. You guys are leading the league in hitting. I did just have a quick little check there because I thought you guys were swinging the bat pretty well and leading the league in ERA too, mate. So I feel, the starting pitching is key for you guys, as we know, and that the boys have given you quality outings in both weeks. But the bats seem like they are coming around, and I think what I see there, 280, I think what are you, 289 hitting on the year, which is great. It's something that I feel probably Sydney has missed a little bit. I think they've always been able to pitch. They always find a way to throw the ball. They play in a big ballpark, which when we did a little bit of a rundown of the series coming up, I think you got to play differently out there at your
Blacktown.
ballpark at Blacktown. Thank you, Sexy. And so leading both categories, that's a pretty good spot to be in. I know it's early in the season, but still pretty special.
No, it is. I mean, and it's been somebody different every time, so that's positive, I guess, for the most part. Some of the young guys have stepped up. You look at that's been probably the most exciting thing for me as a manager is looking at young Joe Stevens coming back, right? And he just kind of keeps hitting. Then Jalen Ray gets an opportunity. He keeps hitting. We've got a guy or two that didn't make the trip that I really like, that, you just are trying to find room for that can swing a little bit. So you obviously expect your guys that are either affiliated or indie ball guys that are a bit older to have some feel and a bit of a better approach. But when you get those younger guys performing, and then our Chiba connection, and we've got some thump with Yamamoto. He struggled a little bit, but he can do some damage when he's hot. And Tarachi kind of got it going again. So it's kind of a motley crew but a lot of the rosters are similar, right? You're just hoping that guys step up and deliver. So we'll see how it goes. We get Addo back this coming week. I'm looking forward to spending time with him and the leadership he's going to bring to the clubhouse. I really like where we're at right now as a team, but just kind of adding another veteran who's loves to compete. I don't think that's going to hurt us at all.
It's funny that you say that though. Like you've got one or two guys at home. You're adding in Atho as well. Like you've got Hughesy mentioned this, for last week in the last episode. There's so many clubs that have this issue now with all of the Aussie guys that came back, obviously last week. It shows pretty good depth across the league. It's pretty exciting, especially from a fan's perspective, because you're like, oh God, and I mean, it must be an even more difficult spot for you because every time you put these young guys into a spot, they perform. So you're just like, how can I get enough guys in the squad and in the lineup to keep this thing going?
It's brutal. I mean, it's tough. It's my least favorite part of the job. Again, we talked about that on the last episode, and I absolutely understand why you need 22-man rosters and the way the viability of the league functions and has to function to be sustainable. But I mean, 25, 26, I would just absolutely love just that extra young arm or the extra younger bats that are the next generation of the ABL and your next possibly a few of those guys, on the international stage. So it gets tight, and those last two or three guys that end up being your reserves guys, I try to remind them, and it's not I'm not blowing air up their skirt. It's like, hey, like you're right there, you're right on the cusp. Keep playing, an injury away, or one guy's not finding his way, that then maybe a door opens for you. So. But it is what it is, and I think they get, guys get it. They're obviously disenchanted if they're not on that 22, but hopefully we encourage them, get out to training, work at your craft, get better. We've got a lot of help in Sydney. We've had a lot of hands there, not just the coaches, but some volunteers that have been great, and it helps us kind of get the work done we need to get done. So, yeah, it's part of the deal. But if you perform, you shall stay.
Well, it does now show the strength of where the club's at if there is some good players starting to miss out, and they'll play a role, as you said, throughout the season, and you never know what's going to happen with injuries. The big question for me to you is, with Atho coming back, you've had your four starters. I just quickly had a look who threw on Sunday. Yosha Kiwa. How'd they go with that one? Was it right? Close enough.
Close
My
enough.
favorite Hughesy segment.
We know what you're talking about.
Yeah. So you add another quality starter with Atho into that mix. I mean, mate, what do you do? Like that's tough for you, right?
Yeah, a couple of those. I had it. I feel like I had that chat with all three guys, whether it was Landon or Benny or Alex, and we probably got to continue to go with Yoshikawa. That's part of the development and the agreement with Chiba, but and he was good enough to earn another opportunity anyway. But yeah, I mean, we had that chat like, hey, I don't know where that role is going to evolve to, and you're going to have to adapt. And while I could hear a little bit of the not trepidation, but just like a little bit of the air come out of their tires each time. Every guy said, "Hey, I get it. Like I get it. Whatever the team needs." So again, another one of those moments where it's like, hey, it's not a forever thing. Every team pretty much is going to lose at least the Japanese guys after round
Yep.
6, based on their, I don't know if it's like a collective bargaining deal in the
Yep.
NPB, but it's probably similar, right? So, so you're going to have to make adjustments. We've got a starter and a reliever that are part of our staff, so we've already got to find ways to fill those gaps, and it might just mean this is a round 3 to round 6 moment, and then you revert back to where you were.
Yep.
Guys like Josh Geyer and Cohen Wynn can easily start baseball games based on stuff. They're more than capable. So, we'll see how it goes.
It's Cohen Wynn's probably the guy for me that I've but it's been really enjoyable to see his development, and he pitched really well away on the national team. Some huge outs for the national team. Pitched really well again on the weekend. Been able to hand him the ball late in the game to lock down a couple of high leverage innings. And being Australian too, right? I don't think there's a lot of Australians in the league within that high leverage position, but I feel with Cohen, you probably have every all confidence in being able to hand him the ball. Go get me, if it's 3 outs or 6 outs, he can do that, right?
Yeah, he was. I mean, you hit it on the head, Hughesy. He was rock solid. I mean, I know as a Grand Canyon guy, he didn't play for me. He played in our league. We didn't end up facing him. He was in Bend, Oregon, but we had a good chat on the weekend. And I mean, I watched him pitch last year on TV against Adelaide, and I was like, ooh, that's pretty good. I mean, glove side fastball, that's not easy for guys to do, as you know. And he was not afraid of that. Plus, he mixed in a kind of a couple of different versions of a splitty. And all of a sudden, you've got a really exciting guy. And the best part, honestly, we're talking about Stanky, who's now at USC, who was his coach at Grand Canyon. And just the energy he brings. I mean, I was like, wow. I mean, this
I was
guy's
going to say
positive.
competitiveness, which I thought that you would love.
He was fired up. He was competitive. He's like, wherever you need me, whenever you need me, however you need me. I'm just like, this is a dude. Like, I mean, this guy's going to run a company someday. I don't know what it'll be, but it was just like, wow. I mean, I was just fired up. I was like, okay, this, and then all of a sudden you watch him pitch and you go, oh my, that matches what he brings, to the clubhouse. So that was cool.
Was it fun? Was it, sorry, quickly, one last question, but you jump in. Was it being able to add in, Atho, Gaia, Cohen, and Solo after week 1? Oh, sorry, not Atho, just Gaia, Win, and Solo. Those 3 guys back from national team duties. It must have been good to be able to have those guys a little bit more, I guess, experience. Solo's still probably trying to find his way a little bit, and I'm looking forward to seeing him develop because he is in that development era, mate. It must have been good to be able to add those guys back into the roster.
It was great. I mean, Geyer's obviously a veteran guy. I mean, and just his presence in the clubhouse has leadership qualities. He's also a high energy guy, which kind of, it didn't surprise me. That wouldn't be fair. I just didn't have I've never had a lot of time with him. And I was like, he wants to lead. He gets it. Like he's had a ton of experience in the game. And so, somebody like me is like, hey, like take the reins. I'm here to learn too. What do you got? You have every opportunity to help us have a great vibe in this clubhouse. So he's great there. Solo's young, but again, good energy, and he's tight with the Joe Stevens, Jalen Ray, Clayton Campbell. They've got their own. It reminds me of you guys back in Perth. I mean,
core, right? It's that core that you're looking for.
They're dudes. They're physical. They're physical, in people as far as the way they play the game and how they hit the gym, and they just love. You can see them having a little bit of fun here and there at the right time on the bench. And so that part, and the Solo, I really like his swing. I haven't told him that yet, so I guess you might have to watch the podcast. But the swing works. Like the swing really works, and he creates a little bit more bat speed than you think. He obviously runs well, but he's young, and there are opportunities for him to continue to develop, and whether that's plate approach or out in the field or any of those things. So I'm looking forward to more time with him. But it's great to get all those guys back, and obviously, there'll be that last one we're waiting on.
I don't want to flog a dead horse or anything like that, but I've got to go back to it, Brooke. I know we spoke about it, no one got to listen to it, but let's go back to round one. Of course, it was the Sydney Blue Sox versus the Adelaide Giants. I have to bring it up. I'll never forgive myself if I don't. There was two big matchups that weekend. Let's start with your personal matchup. It was obviously you managing the Blue Sox against the Adelaide Giants, against your son's team. How is that? I mean, obviously, we have a pretty good understanding of how competitive y'all are, and of course, you wanted to stay with Adelaide, and that's totally cool. But what's that like, man? That's got to be. It's a pretty special story, I think, in Australian baseball, especially to start off the season in the ABL.
Yeah, I mean, it was obviously unique. I can't really think of a better word in that regard. Briley had to put up with me his whole life. And, it was a lot of love, but there was clearly some tough love in there. And, it was hard. And I think what we touched on last time was I just said, hey, it's hard being a dad in these moments. So not that, you need to recognize that as a 12-year-old or 15-year-old or 18-year-old, but like, just know that I recognize, I think it's actually a little bit more challenging to be the son or the daughter, and there's just a lot of extra pressure, you don't necessarily need when baseball's full of failure already and you're feeling like hell. And then all of a sudden you got dad staring at you from the dugout of the third base box. I mean, he's a lot closer than being up in the stands sucking on a beer. So, it's just, but I don't feel like I ever, really tucked him. And in fact, you asked that the one story that comes to mind, and I don't think I touched on it last time, but when he was like 12, that whole group of 12-year-olds in our area was really, really good. In fact, like 5 of those guys went on to play Division I basketball or baseball and stuff. But I remember we drove home as my worst moment as a father, without question. And I remember it vividly because he was crying. I had a bad game, some strikeouts and this and that. And I actually pulled the car over to the shoulder near our house in the neighborhood. And I just said, hey, like, that's it, and I was vocal, it was loud. And I said, no more crying. Like, whatever happens, no more crying. We're done. Like, and all these guys are really good, 12-year-olds. But it was just like, and he just welled up and he didn't even fight it. He just like, I just broke him. Right. And I got home and I remember thinking, I was mad at myself. And I remember giving it, 10 minutes. And I just went in and said, buddy, I'm sorry, man. Like, I should have been better for you. We're going to be fine. And we worked through it. When he turned 21, so he's 25 now, we had a party for him, obviously. And he writes this card. And I've been feeling guilty for like 9 years. And in the card, it says like, Dad, I just wanted to tell you, remember that day we were coming home and I just want to say thank you. Like that kind of changed me. I'm thinking, well, you've got to be kidding me. Like,
9 years.
I've been feeling like hell. And you're telling me that actually, so you just never know, right? We're all trying to do our best as we raise these guys. But anyway, I got off track. Back to the game. It was cool. Like, it was, growing up being competitive, taught him how to play darts and cricket, ping pong, pool, basketball, whatever. It was still the same beast, right? It was just like organized, more people around. I'm going to try to get you out. Like, that I know probably how to do it, but I'm not throwing the ball. And
that's what I was thinking, man. You've got to know. You've known his swing his whole life. Like, you've got to know where you can go to get him. Like, that's where my head was going. I'm like, does he use it? Like, is he going for that?
Oh yeah. I mean, we're breaking down every hitter, and I told him, hey, if you can do this, this, and this, you've got a good chance to get him out. He's improved as a hitter, so it's not quite, those gaps aren't quite as vast as they used to be, but yeah, I mean, I said if you leave it right here, I mean, he might damage it. This is like any other hitter. But no, it was awesome. In fact, I didn't say anything. After we won the series, I'm like, And I didn't talk to him when he got into town. Like we had a text on something. Oh, he forgot to bring my Rogues over because they were in Adelaide and he forgot him like a chump. And I'm just like, I'm not talking to you for like a day or two. That's it. So then it's like day 3, and I think somebody said, "Hey, like, are you gonna talk to him? Like, they're right." I said, "No, I'll talk to him later. Like, we're good." And so when we ended up getting the job done, 3 games, I said, now I'm going to feel like hell if I reach out now. So then I finally got, I think they were somewhere in the airport in the Virgin Lounge, and I got hey, nice series. I go, yeah.
Slightly competitive. Slightly competitive. Love that.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's awesome, man! That's so good. And look, obviously, the other big fan, it was a big family weekend in round 1. Of course, we touched on it in our episode without you, but the one with the Wells brothers going face to face. I mean, head to head, game 2. That was pretty cool. It was again another just special little thing, and I love that, like the stories within the league and the game within the game. It's brother v brother, father versus son. I mean, that's got to be awesome. That had to be a pretty just a special weekend to be a part of in the ABL.
that was cool. And I read it after. I don't know if it was before or after we recorded last time, but they both openly admitted that they were a little bit more nervous than usual, right? I mean, you got a dude that's been in the big leagues. You got a dude that
Yeah.
just tore up the ABL last year, and had a really nice year with the Phillies. And they're both like, yeah, it was genuine. It was a little different, Even Alex was like, God, I think just because I had forever to think about it, And so that was super. It was cool. Just watch. I mean, yeah, it was fun watching those guys get after it.
Mate, it was interesting to find out, and I didn't know that Alex hadn't actually pitched in the ABL before.
Yeah, I mean, again, I was just like, I had kept going, hey, so club ball, how's he doing? I was asking JD and Ox, they're like, no, man, he's doing good. He's tearing it up. I'm like, but Hughesy, like, and like Big Sexy, it's a jump, right? It's a jump. You can be club ball extraordinaire and be a great baseball player, but it's still a jump when you go to the ABL. And I'm not referring to you, Big Sexy. I'm not.
No, I just when you said club ball, I was like, yeah, hi, I'm here. But you're right, like it's man, it's next level. It's just crazy. But
And I know he's done it before, and he's one of the best to come out of Australia to ever do it. But it was like, well, what is it going to look like? The velocity may not be there, but the beauty of a seasoned guy like that is he knows who he is. He doesn't need, he calls his own game. I know the catcher's putting out signs, but he knows what he needs to do, and he knows what what the arrows look like in his quiver, and he knows when to shoot which arrow, and so he was successful.
I sung his praises earlier in this episode, which you'll hear back. I was talking about the jam he got out of in like the bottom of the 4th after the error on the weekend against the Perth Heat. Error second base, falls behind a TK, picks the guy off, comes back, strikes TK out, strikes the next guy out. I'm just like, oh, this like, and we said this before, but like the good ones just find a way to get it done. Like it's just, and you're right, yeah. Like the maybe on your end the velocity's not there. I mean, looking at it from a club ball guy, I wouldn't really want to face him. He's pretty nasty, but but still, it was really cool to watch him work himself out.
I should probably ask Alex and Lockie, like, who taught you guys how to throw? Because they both have an invisible fastball. Like that induced vert is nuts, and so guys just get big and like get their swing off, and like I'm like, he missed another barrel. Like and that's what Lockie did, and Alex has some of that too.
On fastballs in the zone too, right? Like we're talking like they swing and miss, and it's like middle away or middle in or whatever like that. It's not like on black or in a tough location. And that's I guess where Lockie had so much success last year, and noticed he pitched up in the zone a lot. And in that, my question to you, Brooke, with I guess Alex, have you spoken to him about what baseball means to him and what he wants to get out of the game and moving forward? Because I know, you have been a very good mentor to a lot of players and especially younger players too. And we'll touch base on Corvallis in a little bit, but, have you spoken to him much about like what the future holds for him?
Not a lot. Initially, I did ask him, what's your end game, and he kind of said, I've watched my brother Lockie do what he did, and I know I've done it before, and I said, why not? He obviously misses the game at a high level, and I think he would ideally like to find a way to get back in. His numbers
Mm.
right now are pretty darn good if he can be consistent and keep that going. So I think, I don't think it's an unachievable benchmark. I think he can get there. And from an arm strength and just being physical, like, he's a little leaner probably than he used to be. So, he's also trying to manage a job and a family and a baby. And
Mhm.
so, there's other things, obviously priorities that are really important for him, but I would imagine he'd love to get another shot. There's just, it's difficult with age and those types of things too.
Update on last week. He has responded to my Instagram message, so he took me off red, and we've been having a little chat. So there you go. Yes, I'm not quite the third
Oh,
Wells
that's a
brother
win.
yet, but we're
That's
getting
a,
there. We're getting there.
that's a
We're getting
win.
there.
That's a win for you.
Let's dive into the Corvallis stuff, Hughesy, because I think it's a really interesting layer to Brooke's story. Let's talk about your success there with the Corvallis Knights. Hughesy, you got
I
some
do.
stats, homework guy.
I did pull the stats out again for it, and just hold on. So, 2008 is your first year with Corvallis Knights. You're still there now as a coach, and by what I read, head of baseball ops. So I'm guessing that's just you putting the team together and probably running some stuff off field. I'm just going to read out all the years that you have won a championship, and then I'll ask a question around why you didn't win one year, and I already know the answer, but that's okay. So you won 2011, 2013, 16, 17, 18, 19. Didn't win in 2020. I know the answer. 2021, 2022, and 2023. Well,
Wow.
that's unbelievable. And I know you've been successful with every place that you've gone to coach and manage. What does the Corvallis Knights mean to you, mate? Like, how did that come about, and what is that? That time of year for you as a coach. What does that mean?
Well, when I played at Oregon State in the '90s, early '90s, that was a semi-pro team in Portland, Oregon, and I had a couple guys I knew that, they were only playing like 20, 25 games a year, and they just said, "Hey, we need a catcher. No, we've got a guy or two. We need a couple. We're going to a tournament in Tahoe. Lake Tahoe's beautiful." I said, "Well, that'd be great. I will go for a few days." I was playing in a different league as well, but so I did that and kind of connected with them there, and then that was 92, 94, 96. I think I played games for them right before, in fact, I came to Australia in August of 96. So I played pro ball in between there with, in 95 with the Brewers and Montana and some other stuff. But that was my original connection. With regards to, the CEO was one of the original players, Dan Siegel. He's a great friend of mine today. I've always told people when I've, done a few speaking engagements in the States, this guy could run the Seattle Mariners or Los Angeles Dodgers, I would imagine, as well as they run their organizations, because he's just kind of a visionary. He's super talented. The guy never sleeps. He's passionate. He's got 3 grown boys now, and he's had everything to do with Corvallis. I think Dan was going to find somebody who could coach the team and do a good job, whether I was ever in the picture or not. So I was just lucky to know him and get an opportunity to do that. And then, part of it was just trying to hire the right staff members. We've always had that development mindset. So whether it was the players or the coaches, to kind of develop them over 2, 3, 4 years, and then push them out to either a Division I program or a pro opportunity, right? So we've had quite a few guys. The pitching coach at University of Washington now was with me for 7 years. Very close with him, Connor Lambert. Billy Clance was with me for 2 years, played for me for 4, and then coached for 2.
And that Morley, it was a Morley
and
guy too.
Morley boy,
Oh,
there
true.
you go. There you go.
Yeah.
Dylan Jones, another Morley boy. He's
Yeah.
assistant pitching coach at Santa Barbara with Checks. And so we've had quite a few. Max Gordon's now one of the hitting guys with Detroit, which is crazy because he was with me a year. Now I've got Austin Murr and Clayton Campbell with me, and I'm talking about Maxie, who's just a little badass. So it's just, that part's been really cool. And then it's a village type it's a village piece. Like, it's not just the coaching staff, which helps, but you got to get the right players in. We've got great relationships with our partner schools. The most unique thing is that we turn over, 90 to 95% of our team every summer. So we do bring back 3 to 5 guys, but that's the most unique part is just, okay, new group, plug, play,
Yeah.
same plan, but make some
Yeah.
adjustments, try to get better each year.
Mate, it's quite an extensive resume. I do have a couple questions around the differences of what you've seen in the league now than you first came out. You first came out with the Perth Heat, won a championship in 2010-11 and run another championship in 11-12. You did come back and with the Heat later on in 2019-2020 as well. Went to Adelaide when they were still the buy. Were there for a couple of years, and now with Sydney. What are some of the differences that you've seen throughout the league over the years? I guess for the better, for the worse, whatever you think. But you've been here, you've been around it, you've seen Australian baseball. Like, what's your take on it?
Wow, that's a good question. I'll try not to get too long-winded because, right? I
Nah,
mean,
I
we
love
could
it.
go down so many rabbit holes with that one.
Let's go down a rabbit hole, Brooke. Let's do it.
But I think the league's improved a little bit overall. Talent-wise, it just has, right? I mean, whether it's because you have more pitching depth, you have more indie ball guys, you have a few Asian players. I would, back in the day, I said it was like a low A to high A type league. If you're taking an average, you have some better players than that. You have some slightly inferior. I mean, kind of when I look around now, I'm like, okay, this is a high A league without question. And sometimes you could argue double A type stuff, especially with a couple of rosters. So the league's gotten better. I think umpires have gotten better, actually. I kind of like our first 2 crews have been good. I mean, it's worth a mention because it does matter. The first few years were a little bit more frustrating, I think, whether you're a player, a coach, or a fan. And now with 4 guys and some Japanese crews and our first 2 crews have been great. I mean, I don't think they've missed many calls. The strike zones have been way better than we used to have back in the day. That being said, I want to be respectful. There were still a few really good umpires when the ABL fired up again. It was just a little more frustrating. But they've done a good job in that front. And then with regards to, marketing and the fan base, I think it's market dependent, right? Like certain areas do a really good job with social media and sponsorships and getting people to the field. And certain clubs maybe are more challenged, but again, ownership's changed hands quite a few times in different locations. So it probably is just time and the place. But I love it. I mean, I am unbelievably grateful. I told you guys this last time too. Like, I don't know if it is an age thing, but I just have an insane passion for this. I probably might end up, living here the majority of the year. I love Australia. There's the league for me is it's just a real challenge, and I don't say that I say that in an exciting way, like with the young Aussies who you've got coming up and the guys. And I mean, even looking at Kieran Hall, I mean, that dude's bumped up like 20% since I saw him on TV 3 months ago or 2 months ago. I mean, like, what is this? In fact, Rick Knapp, I mean, this should be meaningful. Come back dugout. He goes, well, what do you got? I said, well, let's do this. He goes, well, we're probably not going to score on this guy. And I go, Jesus, Rick, he's 23. He goes, really? God damn, that slider is pretty good. I said, yeah, it's really good. But by the way, we're swinging at it. And I told Kieran upstairs on Sunday, I had a chance real quick. I said, man, that's real stuff, man. Like you're right there. So you just have all those young guys. And that's the exciting part. That's the big challenge is perpetuating the game here. And I know Willow and Gonzo are working their tails off and other people are as well, but just how do we just take it to the next level and keep it moving? That's a cool challenge. I love it.
You've got 2 owners that came on board last year. There has been a little bit of a turnover with the Sydney Blue Sox. I do have them down here. Robert Hazen, obviously the co-founder of Guzman Gomez, and Darren Macbeth. I'm sure those 2 guys have taken care of you since coming to Sydney and helped you settle into Sydney. What are those guys? How's everything going with them? And what's the direction, I guess, that they want to take the Sydney Blue Sox?
They've both been great. Darren's been great. Rob's been phenomenal. Stuart Masters, our GM, has been unbelievable. I don't know how the guy finds time to do everything he does, but this is the first team that I've kind of helped, had a little bit more on the assembly piece, in Perth early on. Jeff Hooker kind of did it in Adelaide. Davo does a phenomenal job. This one, we had a little bit more of an opportunity to try to fill those gaps. That being said, it was really challenging because we thought we had the cheaper commitment, and then we ended up having it, but then there wasn't clarity on who we're getting and what positions and for how long. And it was like, okay, I'm close, but I can't move any further forward. So no, they've been nothing but supportive. We've had quite a few chats and preseason, and we still communicate, almost daily, which I don't mind at all. Like I'd rather have that. And, but they give me the space to do hopefully what I'm employed to do. And the biggest decision was to hire the right people, right? You got to hire people that you think are at least on, where they need to be, from a level perspective, or hopefully better. And I feel like the Rick Knapp hire was a big deal. We were lucky enough to work together.
I've wanted to talk to him, mate. I wanted to talk about him because Rick was, a pitching coordinator with the Twins when I was just a little pup over there many, many years ago. And, I got to bump into him a few years after the fact when I came back with an Australian team across with the MLB program and stuff like that. And it was great to see him. He is been in the game for so long. And I know I don't want to take your words out of your mouth, but has continued to develop as a coach over the years with all the changes, with everything that's going on with velocity. He'd be a great guy to have standing right next to you in the dugout.
He's unbelievable. I mean, it's been hard for him. Let's say this the right way, to kind of make those adaptations like you just mentioned and stay in the game. I mean, we're going to and from Parramatta to Blacktown every training, every game, right? That we were living right next to each other. So for me, I'm just loving this time because I've got, I'm trying not to wear him out too much, but question here, question there. He's just a wealth of knowledge, and he couples his gruffness with just classic humor. He's a big grizzly bear that has a big heart, and in fact, you'll love this. Like, he went out, and I'm not going to mention any names, but there was a mound meeting, and he goes, kind of, God damn it, all right, I got to go out. So I'm just like, I was even thinking at that moment, I wish I could be there for this one. And and he rolled back in. I said, "How'd it go?" He goes, "Yeah, we'll catch up later. We're still playing." And then the inning's over. We get the out or whatever, and a few more pitches. And freaking Austin Murs at first. Brendan Ryan was playing second for that one, I think. Who else came in? Anyway, I got like three guys coming in, shaking their head, looking at me, giggling, like, "Skip, you've got to make one of those. You got to be out there." And I'm like, "Yeah, I know. We can't bring two guys out." So I just said, and so I got the gist. I said, "Murr, come here. What do you got?" And he's like, "Blah, blah, blah," So, and what he shared, I was just, it's hysterical, right? Because he's a psychologist. So he knew exactly what he was trying to achieve.
Yeah.
But then again, he can be super candid, like he said the other day, and we've all used this phrase as coaches, but happy to have that chat, but don't ask the question if you're not prepared to hear the answer. So I love him to death, and he makes me better because he's a no BS kind of guy. And if he doesn't agree, just, where he stands, and we can make quick decisions, good, bad, or indifferent. We can blink it and move forward.
Sounds awesome. That sounds awesome. I do actually have a bone to pick with you, and you're the representative of the Blue Sox, Brooke. So I apologize for taking it out on you directly, but a couple of guys in your organisation are wanted for theft here in WA. So just lay low if you can. Specifically, that Funky Phil character. Big shout out to Funky Phil, the guy for the Blue Sox, and of course Alberto Rios, who hit that absolute moonshot off a flag there on the weekend. and I caught some content seeing that he actually got the flag and he's taking it back to Sydney with him. Whether that's 100% accurate or not, mate, but I'll tell you right now,
Ooh.
we're coming for him, all right? And
Well,
I'm
I
coming back
will.
on behalf of the Perth Heat, unofficially. I'm coming for our flag, Funky
All
Phil.
right.
I'm calling you out. Let's go.
I'll
Let's
I'll
go.
have to. I'll do some research for you, Big Sexy.
Yeah.
Bert hit that. I've never. And, you say that when you show up at a baseball field, right? Like, oh my god,
Never
I've
seen
never
it.
seen that before.
Never
I've
seen
only
it.
watched
Yeah.
2,800 baseball games or what. Bert knocked it off the pole, right? And then I don't know who put it up. It's obviously a boo, but the ABL put up like, oh, he knocks the American flag off the pole. I'm like, I'm pretty sure that game was in Australia, but anyway, yeah. And then I see Bert holding the flag at one point in
Yeah.
some picture. I'm like, yeah, I don't know. But good for him because he was scuffing a little bit, so hopefully that'll get him
We
off the
we
schneid.
did.
Funky, I don't know what Funky took from.
Funky's doing his thing. I love it. P.S. Low key love you, Funky Phil. But also, man, I'm coming for you. Don't think it's not. We're starting a feud.
Is there a feud now? Are we starting something off
I'm
field?
starting something.
We're
No,
starting
you
something
stay
off field.
out of it, Hughesy. Stay out of it, Hughesy. It's Big Sexy versus Funky Phil. Let's go. I'm gonna
Oh,
take you down, big dog.
well, I'll take
But
I'll take Funky Phil in that fight any day of the week.
oh, it's true. I am a lover. I love you,
You
Funky
are.
Phil. But also, it was funny. We were joking around with a couple of club ball boys going, "Oh, well, no one's going to get that flag. It'll stay down there, back there at the Perth Heat ground." Turns out
You
someone
better
did.
put your boots on back there, yeah.
Yeah, watch
So
out.
we get bitten by a
Snakes are
snake.
coming out. Absolutely.
But I don't want to be remiss either because Jason Dormer has been unbelievable from day one. If I would not have made that decision, there's some great candidates in Sydney. Like, he's made my life so much easier. He's highly organized, super smart guy. Like that guy's had everything to do with us, me at least, feeling like we're prepared to do our job. And then obviously having Ox on board, great guy to be around. And we've got another guy helping out, Daniel Met. So it's I just want to make sure I give those guys a mention.
Has Ox said, hey, look, Brooke, if you need a guy, I'll throw an inning for you? Has he said, look, I've still got it. I got the knuck still.
Not quite yet, but I know he came in for the kick save last year, and I think it would, the caveat would be if Ox is on the mound for us in this season, then I'm gonna self-terminate. No, no,
You can say that. You're sitting at the top of the ladder right now. So
no, I'm like,
Ox,
we're
he's been one of the
like,
greatest. He's great,
and
right?
he would go get outs. He'd go get
Yeah,
outs. He'd still get
absolutely.
people out. Yeah.
Mate, he'd
Ox, I'm
still
just
throw one at
joking.
my head. Mate, he'd still throw one at my head and then snap a
Oh, he
12-6 on the like every time I faced him, it was like we were on. It was just like hugely competitive at bats. Ain't afraid to come inside, knock you down, and snap a 12-6 off on the black. Like he's been a great ambassador to baseball, not only in this country, in other countries too, and especially in Sydney. So you got two great pitching coaches there, in Nappy and Ox.
As jovial as Ox is just naturally, and he's just a fun, pleasant human. Like when Rick, chimes up something in the when we're all alone, like Ox just jumps right on board, like boom. I'm like, oh, they both have that trigger, right? Like that we call it the pitcher's trigger, like you just said. Like, oh no, mate, you just do this, it's over. Like that's how you handle that. Boom, done. So I was like, oh yeah. So no, it's been awesome, and yeah, Ox, I'm joking. I know you can go get everybody out right now, so I'm taking it back. But no,
it sounds
he's
like
great. He's awesome.
sounds like the vibes there in Sydney are pretty good. I mean, obviously you guys you're doing well early on, but I mean, it almost sounds like a complete overhaul of the clubhouse. Have you had any feedback like that from guys that have been there for a little bit now? They're saying, man, this is good. This is positive. It's completely different to how it's been over the last few years, or not so much.
Really. I mean, maybe a murmur or two, but it's while it feels good, it just doesn't mean much at all. It really doesn't. Like we've got to repeat this thing. We've gained a little bit of traction. We're playing Melbourne. They're coming in. They can really hit. I mean, those first 6 bats, and that's not taking anything away from the last 3, can freaking thump. They can pitch. Their bullpen strong. And you can go right down the line with the other clubs. So for me, the book of work, I mean, it's kind of like, okay, we got out of the gates well, but are we going to get jammed on the fence or, go wide too early? I just think for us, it's just baby steps. Like each be where our feet are. Let's have a great training tomorrow night. Keep moving, prepare. There's a lot of preparation that goes into it. The players don't need to worry about that. We're just trying to translate a few things to, keep it simple. So, no, I mean, I mean, if we're having this conversation with 1 or 2 rounds left, yeah, that's very different. But right now, it's just warm water. It doesn't mean much at all.
It's nice. It's good to hear. Look, I'm excited to see it, mate. Like it's. I said early on, I hope Sydney are competitive. And Hughesy said to me, mate, Brooke Knight's going to have the boys there wanting to run through a brick wall. And look, like you said, I love the mentality. Hey, it doesn't mean much right now, but it's exciting to watch, man. And look, you said it too. Coming into this series against Melbourne, it's going to be. It's going to be one to watch. I think the two big series I got my eyes on are obviously the Perth Heat and the Adelaide Giants, and then of course Sydney and Melbourne in Sydney. It's going to be an awesome round 3. I'm pretty pumped for it.
Should be, absolutely. And I did mention this last time, but it's worth a mention. Like I told you guys, I hope that you guys continue on with this because ABL needs it. The ABL just anything that's going to help get the word out. It takes people coming over here to see it, play in it, watch it to understand what a high level of talent it is. But the interviews have been awesome. I mean, listening to guys like Willow and Deebs and Gonzo and right down the line, Davo. I mean, everybody you've had on, and I was unhappy, and I'll say it again, that Lockie got the 7 hole and I got bumped to like 9 bench guy. No,
Whoa.
but no,
Mate,
I'm teasing.
Lockie's still mad at me. Lockie's still mad at me. He names all the people that got interviewed before him. He's like, "Are you kidding
Lockie
me?"
was blowing up.
He's like,
It
"Mate,
was awesome.
we're best
He
mates."
told
And
me
I can't
that, and
even
I said, Lockie, you did a great job, and I know you're going to do a good job, but like they did make the right decision. All those people should have been interviewed before you or me. So like we got to lay off a little bit. But no, it's been awesome, and just getting to know some of those guys a little bit better by the questions you guys asked and the answers they had. It's super cool. So I hope you keep it rolling, man. And I look forward to, like I told you last time, like D-San will be fun. Moilo could be fun. Graham Lloyd could be great. You got tons of great options. So
I did have a chat to D-San. He is in the country for a wedding. Adam Korcher got married over the weekend. Congratulations to Adam, ex-Perth Heat player. And D-San has snuck in quickly. Still hasn't got his green card, unfortunately. So he's darting back out to the States. But I wanted to give him just a little bit of space. He had a great year this year. I said, mate, we'll get you on the pod at some stage. And he's like, you know what D-San's like? Yeah, mate. Of course. Yeah. Like straight all over it too. And I do have to say, I did message Moilo today and say, hey, mate, when you're free, I'd love to have you on here. But look, I feel the stories that everyone has is quite unique. Everyone, I think, forgets the playing aspect of their story. A lot of the guys we've spoken to, they're all ex-ABL, Australian team members, professional players. And I do like to ask a few of those questions. The one thing for you that I do have to make sure I mention, and it's something that is pretty special, that we got to play and win in 2 Claxton Shields together, mate. And, the first time you were out here, and we had some pretty special teams and pretty special moments shared on the field together. And I just want to take the time to say thank you for that and for those moments, mate. And I always look back at the time that, you got to spend at the helm with the Heat as, a really special time in our lives, in our development, because we were still pretty young at that stage. We were a lot of young pups running around with the Heat, and you were able to channel us in the kind of right direction and get us moving together as a team. So, mate, it's I'm very happy to call you a mate and have you on the podcast tonight, mate. It's been great.
Appreciate that, Hughesy. The pleasure was all mine, man. I'm supremely grateful. Love all you guys. I'm just flat out grateful, and I'm really, really trying to, obviously sees this opportunity with Sydney and these guys, and hopefully continue to be competitive, right, and roll out a good product. So thank you. Those memories are special. And again, I ran across some crazy Clubhouse videos, and they're like downloaded on my different deal, but when I get them, I'll have to send them to you. There's some fun stuff in there.
Don't send them to
Please.
him, mate. Send them to me. That'd be awesome. That'd
And
be
then
deluxe.
Sexy can do a breakdown of me licking the
I'll do a
roof after you
breakdown
want
of
to
them,
jack
yeah.
shit.
Well,
Nah.
how about that? I was telling our Chiba guys, I said, hey, they're like, Yasunori it's Soto, right? Yas. We call him Yas. Like, he works for Chiba. He's in the analytics department. And he's like, they're like, yeah, Yas says hi. I'm like, oh God, he's with you guys. And I said, I got a Facebook message a while back, but I was connecting the dots. And I said, I've got a picture of Yas licking the beer off the roof. Off the roof. They're like, no. I said, yeah, no, I promise. Like, we've got him pinned on the roof. Anyway.
That's great. That's great, mate. Look, honestly, mate, I wish you all the best. It was the start of the year when we talked about Sydney. It was a bit about the unknown, but I knew what you would bring to the organisation as a manager of that club. And after 2 rounds, mate, you got the boys playing, they're fired up, and with the depth of your pitching staff, that's going to carry such a long way, mate. So I'm excited to see the team continue to develop and watch you guys very closely throughout the year, mate. It's going to be a fun team to definitely stay in touch with.
Appreciate it, Hughesy. Thank you, man. Love you, buddy. And I'm proud of you guys for getting this rolling. Big Sexy, man. We got it. Next time you got to come down and, say hello. I'm not that.
I'm not that guy, I'd just rather hang in the shadows and just politely wave at you, but it is what it is, man. It's all cool. We'll hook it up for sure. But hey, like Hughesy said, man, best of luck this year. And thank you so much. I do really appreciate you being so generous with your time, of course, last week. And then, of course, now again, we really appreciate it, man. And look, it's going to be sick to watch where Sydney end up this season. I know you guys aren't going to say it, but I'm the guy that can say this kind of stuff. I think everyone's going to be pretty surprised. Let's see how it goes. If you keep that momentum up, man, it's going to be an exciting year in the ABL. So, Brooke Knight, thank you so much, mate. We appreciate you, and good luck in round 3 against the Melbourne Aces. Here we go.
Going back. This ball's back.